going on, everybody? We are back today with another important topic that we need to talk about, and stuff that I haven't gotten really too much into so far on this channel, but we really do need to talk about it. So, California, what are you doing? Like, seriously, what are y'all doing over there? If you don't know, California's governor, Gavin Newsom, just signed another bill recently that allows essentially self-ID trans people to choose what prison they go to. I don't think I have to tell you how wrong that could be. Now, I'm also not going to say that there isn't something behind the bill, okay? Obviously, as a transsexual woman myself, I am not going to sit here and tell you that I would be fine with going to, a men's prison because I was born male. I also understand that saying that I shouldn't be able to go to a women's prison is wrong. I see both sides, but when you're talking actual trans people, we can actually have that conversation. But that's not what California is actually doing. And a lot of people might say, well, just don't go to prison, but that's easier said than done sometimes, right? I mean, not many people intend to break the law. I surely don't. I don't expect to be breaking the law anytime soon, but it's not even just going to prison, right? It's getting pulled over for not wearing a mask. Think of it like that. Sometimes in this country, we never know what we're going to get arrested for, or what would normally be a fine is going to constitute as arrest. And so for a trans woman, that absolutely scares me. I absolutely won't lie about that. It scares me to think that I would be gone and housed in with men. If I were to say, if I were speeding or something like that, and they decided that I was doing something wrong. I mean, what do they say? Like, the average person commits like 10 felonies a day. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case, but there's something that some people talk about there. But even just something simple as being taken into custody is something that scares a lot of trans people, such as myself. But the way that California is going about it is not what they're writing into their bills are not beneficial. You can see where they are trying to be inclusive, but none of what they're doing is actually is reasonable. The reasonable thing would be to separate trans people into their own housing in jails and prison, right? I mean, that would be the most reasonable thing that I can think to do. But no. So California specifically stated in the bill, and I read the bill because I didn't really want to believe what the internet was putting out about it. But the bill is just as bad as everybody's saying it is. It specifically states that when you go into custody, the department to specify the individual's gender. Okay. So what the bill specifies is, in a private setting, ask each individual entering into custody of the department to specify the individual's gender identity, whether the individual identifies as transgender, non-binary, or intersex, and their gender pronouns. And the bill would prohibit department from disciplining a person for refusing to answer those questions. And then it goes on to say that it also prohibits staff, contractors, and volunteers of the department from failing to consistently use the gender pronoun an individual has specified in verbal and written communications with regard or regarding that individual involved. So, it seems like this bill is set up to, like, overprotect these trans people, which is a big issue. Is, you can think that that's an issue, especially when you're talking to corrections folks who are dealing with some of the worst people in the world, right? They're talking about punishing the guards and everything like that are over these people for simply not getting an inmate's pronouns right. Think about that. I don't expect anybody to get my pronouns right half the time, okay? So they are expecting that anybody that self-IDs and is in custody and is in whatever prison that they identify as, male or female, they expect the guards to consistently refer to them as female or male, depending on what their pronouns are, or they them. So you got to think about that too, or they them, or whatever else other pronouns are out there. Now, I don't. Again, certain respect has to be given. So that's not as big of an issue as some of the other implications of this bill. So, the main issue that comes with this, it's not just that they have to ask and know what your pronouns and everything are and call it. It is they are going to house you in whichever facility you identify as. So that is where we get into what is called self-ID trans. Self-ID is very harmful to the community, if you didn't already know, and I'll give you some examples here in a little bit. But what the bill specifically states, and it says, the bill would additionally require the department to house the person in a correctional facility designated for men or women based on the individual's preference, except as specified. Now, yes, as specified is if they have a specific concern for security of individuals in there. So they have that protection, but do they really? Now think about this for a second, because this is what we're also seeing with doctors and treating trans kids, is that doctors right now are afraid to not diagnose somebody who is a transsexual child with gender dysphoria, because they're afraid that if they do that, then they are going to be deemed as, transphobic, and then they are going to get canceled, and then their lives are ruined, right? They are afraid to actually properly diagnose trans kids or non-trans kids as not trans, because there is obviously a huge difference when you're talking, trans kids, and we really need to work on, help them, but we also need to not enable some of the trending that's going on right now. Same here. We are talking about a situation where the people in these prisons are not going to stop a transgender person from coming into that prison. They're not going to say, no, you have to go back to the men's prison. And we're really only talking about male to female in women's prisons, right? Because I don't ever actually see a female to male going into a men's prison anyways, or even wanting to. But that's just me. So really, we're only talking about all trans people in women's prisons. But the fact is that these people, again, that are working at the prisons are not going to take that chance with their career, with their livelihood, that the woke crowd is going to not come after them, because you know it would be a big story anytime that they say that they're not going to house a trans person because of security issues. It's very unlikely to me that that's going to happen, especially in California, right? Now let's talk about this bill, because, so you guys know, it's Bill SB 132. It was introduced by none other than Scott Wiener, and he's the same person, same state senator that introduced what people called the pro-pedophilia bill. The one that, on its face, made some sense in terms of the LGBT issues. Like, yeah, if somebody's dating somebody that's, somebody under 18, under 18 is dating somebody that's over 18 and they're the same sex, it shouldn't make a difference that they're the same sex and they're the opposite sex, which California's law was before that. Same sex would have to register on the sex offender list. Opposite sex would not. But where it's obviously pro-pedophilia is that there's this 10-year age gap that they used, to where so a 20-year-old that has sex with a 10-year-old doesn't have to register as a sex offender, as long as the parties are consenting, except for a 10-year-old can't consent. That's just asinine. So absolutely that is and even still, it's like 24 and 14. I think the age of consent is 16 in California. I don't know. But that's the bill that he introduced. And if you want, Blair White mentioned that video a little bit when she talked about the Cuties movie. So, and I believe there's also a few other videos on that. So, I'm not going to get too much into that unless you guys want me to go down in that road in a later video. But the the issue at hand now is this new bill. And with the new bill, we know there's already been cases of people using the system to get into the women's prisons, because, I mean, in Illinois, for example, this has been the law. There's a few states, few other states other than California, that this is also the law. In last year in Illinois, there was a case, and lawsuit came by an inmate in February of this year, because that female inmate was raped by a transgender person, and the prison actually tried to cover it up. So that's one instance. They don't want that bad publicity either, so you're just inviting stuff like that. Two, if you did not watch Rose of Dawn's video that came out yesterday, at least when I'm filming this, it came out yesterday. She highlighted probably the worst case of SelfID that I think we've ever seen. She was talking about Barbie Kardashian. I had not heard of this person until I watched the video, so it was a good video. And then there was a spot where she mentioned Karen White, and I haven't dove too deep into the Karen White situation either, but the Barbie Kardashian situation, just kind of a rundown, because Rose does a great job in explaining how awful this was, is they, as I'm going to go with the same pronouns that Rose did as well, so they were denied the diagnosis of gender dysphoria by the Irish system. But they were still able to get their gender marker changed and get everything else changed. And then even though from a very young age, they saw their mom being abused by their dad, and then they never had respect for women. And so their whole lives, they have completely abused women. Like, they've been charged with assaults, they've been charged with sexual, I mean, craziest things. Watch her video, because she goes into great details about everything. But then she was housed in a female prison. I mean, she was not only she was very a deranged person, and she goes and she's housed in the female prison where she's been known to only assault women. It doesn't make sense. I mean, she's the type of person that should be in a cell by themselves. Which, going back to the California bill, really caught me off guard too. So they are also going to give, if you are trans, they are going to give you either, if they can't accommodate you, they are going to give you your own cell. Okay, think about that. They are going to give you special treatment if you're transgender. If you want, or if they can, they are going to give you a choice of who should be your cell. I mean, so come on. Tell me how this makes any sense. As Blair says, make it make sense to me. I don't understand. There is, again, it seems like they're bills that Representative Weiner is putting out there, like, on their face, they look like they're trying to help people. But in reality, like, in the details, they're even worse than what they look like. I want to give people the benefit of the doubt. They're not just going to work trying to make, pro pedophilia or pro, like, raping women bills. They're not. They think they're doing something good, but they're not. Like, there are so many other ways to skin this cat, right? We need to start looking at those. Like, we need to look at some of the nuances. I mean, Representative Weiner said he doesn't expect the exception to be used that often, which is kind of proof, like what I said. Like, he's going to be pushing so it doesn't get used. He said it's a false narrative, that trans people are these predators. Well, I agree. Absolutely. Okay. Actual trans people are not predators. Very rarely do you see, like, people with, actual transsexual people, committing these acts. Most of us just want to be left alone. And I mean, I do a lot of stuff that a lot of the gender critical people don't like too, But I seriously just want to live my life. And I've been accepted pretty much everywhere I've gone. I mean, I use the restroom. And at the gym, I use the women's locker room because that's the policy that's there. And I get in, get out of the locker room. But, trans women are, trans people are not predators. But there are people that abuse that system, right? So there has to be strict guidelines. Because we know as well that, trans women get violently assaulted a lot in men's prisons. There's no way that we should be in men's prisons either. But just self-ID, like, if you are not on hormones, fully functioning man, you should be in the men's prison. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, that should be the cutoff. It shouldn't have anything to do with what you ID as. It's kind of like the thing we had, what was it, in Utah? Again, Blair made a video about this one a few months ago, or yeah, quite a while ago, where they were letting somebody out of prison because their hormones were in female levels. Like, that's gonna change their mentality. Like, you see, I can reasonably look at this stuff and see, again, this bill in this new bill in California, again, it's trying to protect people like me, but it sets up for people like Barbie Kardashian to exploit, or any rapist on the street to exploit in California. If they are specifically asking, like, oh yeah, what do you identify as? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, female. California's going to have an influx of people identifying as female. You guys know that, right? Like, it's not transsexual people that are going to, like, identify. They will. And that should be obvious, who actually identifies as female. But everybody's going to. Like, every single person. It's gonna backfire so much that every single person that goes into intake says that they're female. Guaranteed. Once they start really, really enforcing that, that's what's gonna happen. And it's not gonna help anybody. So it's gonna hurt trans people. That's actually a good segue. All this stuff does is hurt actual trans people. It doesn't help us. All it does is make people not like us. Like, it makes people think that we just want to get into women's spaces, and that's the exact opposite. I'm trying to assimilate into life, okay? As best as I can. So when you prop these bills up like this, there's better solutions. Like I said, I would rather see anybody who is not on testosterone or not on HRT, not on blockers of any kind. If you're not diagnosed, I'm not a big worry about the diagnosis of gender dysphoria, simply because I think anybody can transition as an adult without the gatekeeping. If you're over 18, you can take whatever drugs you want, but and should be able to get whatever surgeries you want. But again, if you're not taking those medications, and you could even go as far as say if you've had the surgery or not. But I would stop at. I would say is if you're taking those medications, then you can probably be housed in an all transgender wing. One wing. Seriously, it's that one wing anywhere in the country, right? Or multiple wings in different parts of the country. Set them aside for trans men and women. Because those two are pretty even, and they should be able to coincide together. But I'm okay with not putting trans women in with women, again, unless very specific criteria is met. Now in the meantime, a lot of criteria has to be met, because again, I don't want to go into men's prison. I don't want to. If I ever got arrested, I don't want to go to the men's jail. Like, if I get arrested for not wearing a mask, I'm gonna be pissed, because they're gonna put me in the men's jail here in Georgia. So I'm just saying, with all of that, you know, I'll post some of the links to the articles that I showed. I'll post some of those links. I'll post the link to Rose of Dawn's video that she came out with, as well as Blair's videos. If obviously, I think if you're subscribed to me, you're probably subscribed to them as well. So go watch their videos, and then but definitely if you're not subscribed to me, subscribe right now and check out all my other stuff. Currently writing some more articles for Medium. Getting back on this. I'm DJing, like live stream, so please go watch my Twitch. I'm live streaming like at least 3 times a week right now. And I've been doing like 3 hours on Saturday. Actually, last weekend I did 5 hours. So just come, watch it. I mean, I play on Saturdays. I generally will play a little bit of everything. Like, and when I say everything, I mean everything. Not just electronic music. Now it's got that electronic background. It's based in electronic music, but it's got a little bit of everything for, something for everyone. And then you guys, if you follow me on Twitter, you guys have seen some of my DJ videos pop up on Periscope. Again, I'm trying, look for followers on Twitch. So go there, follow me. If you guys are artists and you want to stream, I don't care what genre, let me know. My site is set up to be kind of an open mic night type deal, and just let me know. We'll make it happen. Get you out there and streaming. And I always love playing on there and playing live. So hope to see you next time.